Hello, lost souls. Welcome to the Unfortunate Archives. What do you want to know? The meaning of your life? Whether they love you back? Your biggest mistake? Huh? You want to know what to read next? I guess I can call the spirits for that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Which one calls to you? Card number 1, the Tower. Well, this card has people falling off a tower in various expressions of agony, and it's also very dark, but not to fear. Based on my extensive knowledge of fortune telling and definitely not a quick Google search, the Tower card signifies change, upheaval, chaos, and personal awakenings. If you have an upheaval and a personal awakening coming up in your life, then it might help you to read about someone else who was in that situation. Arguably the person who had the biggest awakening and upheaval in the history of creation. Satan. The spirits tell me you should read Angels Before Men by Raphael Nicholas. This book begins when Lucifer is born. He is the most beautiful angel in heaven, and he's also obsessed with God. That is until he meets Michael, the angel of strength, and he forms a new and arguably much more fun obsession. And not only do the two angels become great friends, they also start experiencing the first romance and the first sexual awakening in the history of creation. However, I'll leave it to you to figure out how God feels about this. Not good. If you need another hint, this is a retelling of Lucifer's fall, Fall. This book is criminally underrated. It's so unique, it's so memorable, and it has such beautiful lyrical writing. That being said, no matter what your fortune says, don't read this book before checking the trigger warnings because it's quite an extensive list. And also bear in mind that towards the end of the book, as Lucifer has his various awakenings, the book becomes a bit more confusing and delves more into chaos, which is perfect, but read it when you are in the frame of mind to handle that. This is a book about obedience, about freedom, about rebellion and pain and pleasure. And if you have any sort of scary change coming up in your life, I think this will help you remember that the only reason you can experience chaos is because you're alive and you're free. This book also taught me that I'm delusional enough to read a book that's described as a queer retelling of Lucifer's fall and still hope for a happy ending, so it was interesting. Card number 2, Strength. This card signifies courage, compassion, and inner strength, but it also signifies strong emotions and feelings of self-doubt and inadequacy. So, my first thought when I saw this card was Cersei. However, the spirits thought we could be more helpful than to recommend one of the most beloved and well-known books of the recent years. So, if you picked card number 2, then you should read Ariadne by Jennifer Saint. For those of you who don't recognize the name Ariadne, congratulations on having an interest in the real world when you were growing up. I bet your parents are really proud of your social skills. Ariadne is a figure in Greek mythology who was the sister to the Minotaur. I think that's how you say it. This guy. But she is better known for falling in love with the hero Theseus and helping him kill the Minotaur and then running away with him, only later to be abandoned by him on an island and left to die. She is really only a side character to Theseus's heroic adventures, and we're not meant to bat an eye on the fact that she's used and discarded. However, in this book, she finally has a chance to tell her own story, and we get to hear not just from her, but also from her sister. The day might come when I'm tired of feminist mythological retellings, but I wouldn't bet on it. I just eat them up, and Ariadne is one of my favorites among the bunch. And the reason for that is that even though there are gods and heroes, war, insanity, violence, deaths, and births in this book, it's really a story about women and women's pain and women's rage. The two women at the center of the story are Ariadne and her sister, and they're vastly different people, but neither of them are presented as evil and selfish, nor blameless victims. They're just complicated people trying to live in a society that doesn't value them, and both of them at the end of the day are really fighting against their lot as women. No longer was my world one of brave heroes. I was learning all too swiftly the women's pain that throbbed unspoken through the tales of their feats. So if you picked card number 2, you should read Ariadne because it will remind you that strength looks very different for different people. And if you're not into the whole inner strength stuff, then it will just distract you from all the self-doubt and anxieties with a really great story. So it's a win either way. Card number 3, the Three of Swords. So you picked a card that has 3 swords piercing a heart. I hope you're okay. The Three of Swords signifies heartbreak, sorrow, and separation, but also optimism and forgiveness. So not all's lost. And in fact, it might be worth it because you get the best book. If you pick number 3, you should read In Memoriam by Aleksey. Oh, this book will make you feel like this. It's the perfect match. In Memoriam follows 2 boys, Henry and Sydney, who are students at this prestigious boarding school in England around the beginning of World War I. Now, they're very good friends, but you soon begin to notice that they're very, very conscious of whenever their arms as much as brush each other's. And you start thinking to yourself, friends. However, unfortunately, tensions aren't just rising between the two of them, but also, in the war. Henry is from a German family, and they're coming under intense scrutiny for being German spies. They're not. But Henry ends up being coerced into enlisting and has to leave the school and go to war. To him, this also has the benefit of helping him escape from his overwhelming and definitely one-sided feelings for his friend. However, despite his best plans, Sydney soon follows him to the front. Now, not only do they have to contend with the fact that their love for each other is very much forbidden because homophobia, but also they're in a literal life and death situation, and every day they're forced with worse horrors than they could have ever imagined. I'm not a fan of war stories, so I picked up this audiobook on a whim, and I was like, I'll listen to 10 minutes and then I'll fall asleep. Next thing I knew, it was 6 a.m. I was sobbing, and I was seriously considering not finishing this book because I was like, I don't know if I can take it if anything more happens to these characters. Of course, I did finish it, and in fact, I finished it by picking up the ebook because I read faster and because I wanted to see the words with my own eyes. And then after I finished it, I went back and I listened to the rest of the audiobook because the audiobook was beautiful. And now I want to buy a physical copy so I can hug this book whenever I want. I'm insane. And I blame this book and also my parents. This book is so beautiful. It's so beautiful. It's violent. It's heartbreaking. It made me want to smash things. It made me cry. It made me smile. There is a confession scene in this book that's one of the most beautiful and gut-wrenching things I've read in any fiction. And at one point I was like, if someone showed up right now and asked if I would take a bullet for one of these 2 characters, I would seriously consider it. Like, I would think about it. And I might say yes. I could talk for ages about this book. I could talk about how beautifully drawn the characters are, how gorgeous the prose is. I can talk about how somehow it's both horrific and hopeful. But no matter how much I talk, you won't get it unless you read it. Go read this book. But obviously check the trigger warnings. Read it when you have the emotional capacity and in a place where you're comfortable crying. And definitely check your calendar before reading this book. But when all conditions are right, read this. And seriously, this is the perfect representation of how this book will make you feel. Oh. Card number 4, the sun. This card represents warmth, optimism, childhood, but it can also signify sadness. Don't ask me how that works. I might not know how it works, but I do have the perfect book for it. If you picked card number 4, the sun, you should read Clara and the Sun by Kazuo Ishiguro. The sun, Clara and the sun. Maybe we didn't need the spirits for this one. Clara is the narrator of Clara and the Sun, and she's an artificial friend, meaning that she's a robot that's designed to keep children company. In the beginning of the book, Clara is in a store and she's observing human behavior and really trying to understand us. Best of luck to her. And she's really hoping that the family will soon come and take her home with them. One day when she's in the window of the store, she meets this young girl who promises her that she will come back with her family to take Clara home. So after this, Clara does whatever she can not to get adopted by another family, or bought, I guess. However, days go by with no sign of the child, and Clara has to question whether humans can really be trusted. So what I tell you only covers a very small portion of the book, and there's a lot more that happens, but I don't want to give anything away. Just know that if you're more interested in the Black Mirror and Westworld type of AI story, this isn't that. This isn't about technology gone wrong or artificial intelligence taking over the world. And let's be honest, you've probably heard enough of that in the past few months. Instead, this is really a quiet, intimate family story, and it's about a spiritual AI. You heard me right. The spirituality in this book is where the sun comes in, and as very much not a spiritual person myself, I can tell you that's one of the most fascinating and original aspects of the book, and I really loved it. This is also a great book to break you out of a reading slump because it's a little strange and probably won't be like other books that you've been reading recently. It's also very short. It's only about 300 pages, and it's emotional without being emotionally draining, and it has interesting ideas without being weighed down by trying to be very intellectual or experimental. So I think it has that perfect kind of break me out of the book slump combination. I really associate this book with optimism and quiet contemplation and a bit of gentle sadness. So if you picked the sun card, this is the perfect match. And I swear it's not just because of the title. All right, friends, there you have it. An interesting mix of books today. They don't have much in common other than them all being books that I love. It's interesting how the spirits work. The spirits also let me know that you should definitely like and subscribe. Not that it matters to me either way. Whatever you have coming up in your life, whether it's a little heartbreak, personal awakenings, change and chaos, or pure joy, I hope you have the perfect book to keep you company, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye! Theseus. The spirits don't help you with English, you know? I'm too excited. Oh my god. It's so beautiful. Okay. Okay.